right, welcome back, everybody, for another episode of Hidden Gems. This is the video series where I talk about those undervalued, underappreciated, forgotten about type books, things that may not be up on the wall, but things you might be able to dig out of those back issue bins and find at a good price at your LCS or wherever you're doing your comic book hunting. Like I said, just some oddball things that I find interesting that I think is worth knowing about. Hopefully you're enjoying this series as well as everything else here on the channel. Please let me know what you think in the comments down below. Make sure you like, you subscribe, you hit the alert button so you don't miss anything. Keep telling your friends so we can keep growing the channel. And if you haven't given Whatnot a try, now's your chance to sign up for the first time. Get yourself 15 bucks. And not only will you be helping out the channel, but you'll also get yourself some free money to spend on whatever you want with whomever you want. No strings attached. You can go and spend it on whatever you like. Just go ahead and give it a try. Now, if you want to see what books I have for you this week, I got some weird stuff for you. All you got to do is hang on for a few seconds after the intro, and I will be right back. All right, so starting us off, we are going to hit up variants. You guys know I like variants. I like talking about variants. I like searching for these and hunting for these. In particular, I like looking for IDW 1 in 10s because they're easy to find, easy for shops to qualify for, I should say. And sometimes you just find them mixed in with all the regular books and the regular rabble. So they're always fun to find. A few that I think are worth noting, and I'm going to talk about today, are those last few G.I. Joe Real American Hero. As you all know, IDW had the series for a while, but after they moved to Skybound, they were over at IDW, and those last, let's say, 10 issues or so, have some interesting books that you could still go and find. While the print runs were kind of up a bit because there was a lot of attention given to the fact that IDW was losing the property, there's still some interesting stuff here to go and dig out. First up, not going all the way back, but just going to randomly hit up a few. 293. So 7 issues before the end. Here we go. The RI, the 1 in 10. That's what all these retailer incentives are for this run here. We're talking about the 1 in 10s. So stores only had to order 10 copies. Not too much to ask for a lot of shops. So here you got Dawn Marino, a couple of Snake Eyes. Pretty cool. I mean, theoretically, these are just 3 different versions of Snake Eyes or eras, if you will. So kind of a cool cover. This thing can sell for a decent amount. You can see recent sales of 52, 65, and then 1550. So sometimes they go cheap too, but you can see the possibilities here if you can find one at a good price. The only copy I found listed was one that was one at 65 bucks too, by the way. So if you can find one of these in a box or at your shop and it's ratio or less, you might want to give it a thought because 10 bucks could get you 65. That's the point. And that's what I'm talking about here. Just some opportunities and some stuff that might often get overlooked. Like I said, just undervalued, underappreciated type stuff that people might have already moved on. I mean, IDW doesn't have G.I. Joe anymore. A lot of people don't care about the IDW run on G.I. Joe anymore. It's with Skybound. I'm loving the Energon universe and the stuff that Skybound is doing, but don't want to ignore the fact that for many years, G.I. Joe was over at IDW, and there's still some good stuff that you can go and dig out of boxes. Now, continuing on, let's get on to the next issue. So issue 294, here's another 1 in 10 that you could possibly find out there for a decent amount. Now, this one doesn't do quite as well as the last, but it's still worth being aware of. And also, you want to look for that RI. See at the top here in the corner where the number is. This tells you that this is the retailer incentive. That's what I'm saying. RI, that's what I'm referring to, the retailer incentive copy. And at this stage in these books that I'm showing you, like I said, these are 1 in 10. So stores had to order 10 copies to be able to get one of these. So I take it for granted sometimes that everybody who watches this knows what I'm talking about. And I know we do have a lot of newer collectors. So I got to remind myself every once in a while to explain what may seem obvious to many, but not to all. With that said, this 1 in 10 retailer incentive, also, like I said, is worth keeping an eye out for. It's more like a double ratio type of book, as you can see, like 20 to 25, some recent sales. And then asking prices are seeking a little bit more, though, looking for $34 to $40. Like I said, it's near the end of the run. There's still some interest there right now. These things are cyclical, could come back around. It's just worth knowing about these types of books. So again, not for you to go out there and spend $40 for a book like this. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, if you know what this book is, and then you go looking at a place near you, and you find it for a price that's like, oh, they got this 1 in 10, and they only want $8. Maybe I should get this. That's what I'm talking about. That's why I'm letting you know about some of these prices and values, because there's opportunities out there if you want to go and hunt and go dig a little bit. With that said, this next one may be tougher, because this one was kind of hot out of the gate because, well, you'll see. It's the cover. It's a Baroness cover. So on issue 295, White Suit Baroness, this should have come as no surprise to anybody. I made sure I had secured myself a copy of this as soon as I saw the cover art, because a cover like this, people are going to want. John Royal doing his best J. Scott Campbell impersonation here with a white suited Baroness in the snow. It's a no-brainer, right? This one does, as you might guess, pretty well. So copies have recently sold for anywhere from $60 to there's another $60 to 100, 150 depending on grade. There's a couple of graded copies. Looks like $100 will get you a 9.6, 150 a 9.8. So just one of those things. Asking prices raw right now. The only copies raw I can see are looking for $100, and then 9.8s look for like $235. So pretty pricey if you want to go and pay online market prices. But once again, not telling you to do that. Go dig at your shop, see what they got. Maybe they have this still. Chances are unlikely on this one, but you never know. It's just worth knowing. So I figured I'd show it to you, tell you all about it. So this way, if you stumble across it, you know what you're looking at. Now, the next one is surprisingly cheap. I thought of it being a Snake Eyes cover that would do a little bit better, and it's also really close to the end here. So issue 298, we're just in the last three. It's the penultimate before the penultimate issue. But you got Snake Eyes and you got Scarlet jumping out of the plane here. They're all in. And this one is still only about double. It's about double ratio. So you're looking at about $20. Recent sales and copies available. But still, $20 now could be something different later. Who knows? My point is, if the price is right, maybe you think about it. Like I said, if I were to stumble across this personally and it was under $10, I'd probably give it a go and grab an extra one, even though I do have one of these for my collection, because as I mentioned, I'm a G.I. Joe fan. Make no mistake about it. I am a fan of this title. I'm a fan of this property since I was a kid. So I'm a bit biased, but that's why I also show you the market. So you can see what's selling and what's being asked for. And then you can make the call for yourself. I'm not telling you to do anything. I'm just giving you information. You do with it what you want. But with that, I got one more piece of information regarding these G.I. Joe anniversaries. We're not going to go to issue 300 because surprisingly, issue 300, they did higher ratios. So now the higher ratios are more desirable. So the 1 in 10 kind of gets ignored. But 299 is still one for you to keep an eye out for. Plus, it's an awesome Cobra Commander cover. You got a bunch of the Cobra characters there at the back, from Moccasin and Storm Shadow, Serpentor, Destro, Zorana, Zartan, Firefly. There are a whole bunch there. You can look at all the heads. You can name them all too. With that said, this 1 in 10, like I said, that's all right. This one's been going for best offers on 60, about $45. Asking prices right now, $60, $75. That's a good amount for this issue 299, the penultimate issue, the second to last issue before IDW lost the franchise. Just worth knowing. Like I said, it's a 1 in 10. I think a lot of shops probably would have qualified for them. Whether they still have this is another story, but hey, books are not always the same everywhere. Just because I may not have something near me, you might have it near you. Or vice versa. Something might not be near you, but I have them available near me. But I'm just spreading this information out for everybody. So whoever can take advantage of it, let them take advantage and go find themselves some good books. That said, our next category we're going to hit up are some later prints. Specifically, second prints. And more specifically, second prints from a particular series and run, which would be the third volume, I believe, of X-Men from 2010. This is the series that started off with the Curse of the Mutants, and we had vampires, and you had the Son of Dracula, mixing it up with the X-Men and mutants. Reason why it's in the mind is because X-Men 97 has been one of the best things I've seen on television in quite some time, and Blood Hunt is going on right now in the comics, which has a lot of my attention. So we have mutants, we have vampires. It reminds me of mutants and vampires from 15 years ago almost. So 2010, Curse of the Mutants, issue 1. second prints. So that's what we're going to talk about here. The second prints for these books. Because the first prints, they're not really worth all that much because there's plenty of copies out there. This was heavily printed. And that's why they got second printings, because they did well. But now the second printings are more unique with these different cover art. You know, I got different cover art here on all of these. So it was a unique time for second prints that I like to collect this type of stuff. When they give us new cover art, and you know, they're just kind of unique in that way. With that said, issue 1, the second print for that run, I couldn't find any recent sales. I was surprised. Couldn't find any sales, but asking price is about 25 bucks. So I know it's only 25 bucks, but if you can find this for a few dollars in a box and it's just a second printing, just there mixed in with the rest, and they're all like $2, $3 a copy, you might want to pick this up for a couple of bucks because you might be able to fetch yourself a little bit more. Not to say that just because there's copies listed for $25, you're going to get $25, because as you can see, nobody's buying it right now. But take a chance if you want. It's up to you. The next one is one of my favorites, and I know I've talked about these. I think I've talked about this whole run before, but I've been doing this for a few years now. I'm bound to cover topics I might have talked about 2 or 3 years ago and talk about them again. It's the nature of the beast. It's information that's in my head. New set of viewers, and if you guys have seen me talk about this before, I apologize. But I like this book. Anytime I see it, I grab it, and that is issue 2 of this run because it's a pretty cool Blade cover. You get Blade on the cover of an X-Men book. You don't get to see that all that often, right? So Blade on issue 2. Once again, it's a second print. This had been much higher. This used to be like 50, 60 bucks raw. These days, much cheaper. These days, copies sold for 25 bucks. Copies listed for about $20 to $30. This used to be much more expensive at one time. But that's the point. These things, they go up and down. It's a roller coaster ride for a lot of these books. Prices, there's ebbs and flows. There's, you know, heights, there's dips, all that stuff. So you just take advantage where you can. So if you find yourself cheap copies, get them for the cheap and then hold out. Maybe one day this book will get hot and you'll be able to cash in. Or you just get yourself a cool book for your collection for, you know, a small amount of money. That's the whole point in hunting for cheap. Whether you want to be a reseller or any of that, or just a collector for yourself, you don't want to go pay market prices if you can avoid it, because it's not cost effective. Not only is it not cost effective, you're going to end up bleeding yourself dry and just end up being sad and disappointed with books that you can't get because you got no more money. It's just, you just got to be smart. You just got to be smart. I know, I get it. We all want everything, but we all can't have everything. Well, at least not me. I'm sure there's plenty of people out there with much bigger wallets than me that can afford a lot more than I can. So don't want to talk for them, but I like talking for the people who like to take their time and be very conservative with their let's call it investments. Whether you're investing or collecting, it doesn't make much of a difference to me. We're all in the same boat. We want to get this stuff for as little as we possibly can. And here's some stuff that maybe you can go find at the lows right now. Continuing on with issue 3. So issue 3 here. Now we got Wolverine also bitten. We got, you know, vampires. Again, we're going to see this coming soon. And this cover this week with the EC horror homage on the red band, Blood Hunt 2, it's ridiculously priced. This also makes me think of this series. It's just, you know, Wolverine, vampire. Here we go. Let's see where we're going to get. None sold. Just like issue 1, nothing sold recently. As you saw with issue 2, there's only one sale. Like I said, nobody's buying these right now. But asking prices for this book is still $35 to $60. So if you can find one cheap enough, maybe you get yourself a few extra dollars. Our next one, yes, you guessed it. It's issue 4. And this is the last one of this run, I promise. Issue 4. And as you can see, it's a sideways cover. I actually don't like these. I don't like sideways covers. It looks dumb. Like when it's standing like this in my box, I hate that I got to turn my head sideways. I don't know if you heard my neck crack just then, but that's what I have to do to view this if it's, you know, in my filing cabinet or in a box. So just for our purposes here, oh, sorry, the transition should have been smoother so we could do this and give you the proper way to view this cover, which it's not a bad cover. And again, we got, what's his name? Zaris, I think. Zaris, Dracula's son. And we got Blade, and you got Angel, we got some mutants and vampires, etc. Kind of fun. Just like the last few books, none actually sold recently. But asking prices on this thing, kind of wild. 25 bucks, 85 bucks, $180, And then you can see there's a lot that has a couple of like other, other covers and things in there. 175 bucks. So this one actually could be expensive or it could be cheap. I mean, $25 and 180. That's a wide range of what people are seeking. Regardless, nobody's purchased either, so we can't say what this book is worth right this minute. But if you find it for, again, a cheap enough price that you feel comfortable with, go ahead and grab it. Now, the next two are also part of this X-Men Volume 3, this run that started in 2010, but these next couple of books came out in 2011. They're a little bit later in the series, and they are actually a lot cheaper than these vampire ones. But I felt like we're doing this, so let's just do all of them here. So the other second prints in this volume are issue 16 and 17. So 16, you can see here, we got like some Savage Land stuff going on. I don't know why they decided to do the 3-panel, like kind of styling, but you'll see it on the next book as well. But that's what they went with for the second print here. No copy sold recently, but again, this one's pretty cheap. But just because it's cheap doesn't mean maybe one day it won't be. Who knows? But $2 to $4 is, you can even find copies of this online. So you maybe find this in a dollar bin, take a shot. Who knows? One day this might be of interest, to collectors. I don't know. But here's the next one too. Let's just wrap it up here with number 17. Also doing the 3-panel thing. Hey, look, we even got Doom down below as part of this run. Issue 17. Another second print. Another one that has no recent sales, but copies available. Yeah, $2. And then, well, there's some people fishing for a bit more. $11, 20, $21.50. Who knows? Granted, none of them have sold, so who knows? I mean, chances are somebody's going to buy that one for $2.35 before they pay $21. But you make the call if you find this at a shop near you, what you want to do. Like I said, no guarantee that it's ever going to be worth anything. It's just something interesting that I thought I'd point out while I was doing the other ones. Now, with that said, these were the second prints, which are basically reprints. But I like to call them something different because they do denote printings and sometimes they change the cover art, etc. Whereas like reprints could be a little bit of a different animal. I mean, apart from the facsimile reprints we've been getting a lot lately out of both Marvel and DC, and then they slap some foil, and then they put different covers on some of them and still call it a facsimile, which makes absolutely no sense because that's defeats against what the word actually means. But that all said, reprints. An interesting little subset of Marvel reprints that I think I've covered these also before, some time ago, are the Marvel must-haves. So Marvel would take some popular stories and some expensive books and repackage them in like kind of mini collected editions. Case in point, NYX. So everybody by now knows, probably watching this channel knows that NYX3 is the first, X-23. It's, Laura Kinney. She first appears in that series in issue 3. Marvel must-haves took those first 3 issues of that miniseries and put them all into one collected edition book. Repackaged as a reprint, so you can catch up on the whole story, etc. Plus, you get the cover that you want. It was a fun book for a while. It still is. It's not as pricey as it used to be. Like this on its own used to be a solid, $50 to like $80 if you could find it in the reprint, because the raws are really, really tough to find. Most of these regular first editions, first prints, whatever, are graded these days. But that all said, here, let's look at the prices. I can keep talking, but let's look at the numbers here. So you can see one of these sold at auction for only $6.50. $6.50. Proving to my point that sometimes these things get forgotten about. That's why you don't, I say it plenty of times, don't auction things because you're not going to get the most out of your money. I get it. There's a draw to trying to do an auction, short time frame. You're just trying to sell it. But if you start it with a low entry bid, most likely that's where you're going to end up because no one's looking for this right now. They might start looking for it again as we're getting closer and closer to Deadpool and Wolverine. Still rumors that maybe she appears, etc., cameo or something. I know all that. But for right now, this isn't at the top of anybody's pull list or search list. But a 9.8 graded copy could sell for as high as $400, as it has. And then you see, and kind of teasing the next book, you see the two together, 90 bucks, and then $55 alone for a raw copy of this Marvel must-have edition. Asking price, well, there's a 99-cent auction going right now with a few days left. One that's at auction with $55 with one bid, a 9.2 looking for $225. Prices are kind of all over the place, but if you find this for cheap enough by you, maybe you think about this. Like I said, the collected edition together, because as you know, the next issue, issue 4, is also pretty collectible, for people because it's the second appearance. Pretty cool cover. She's got it. She popped the claws, etc. So a lot of people like this cover on the first print. This is the Marvel Must-Haves reprint edition, so you still get that same cover art, and you get issues 4 and 5 of NYX collected in this series. I thought this miniseries went 6 issues, so I feel like you're getting ripped off, and they don't give you the final issue for one reason or another. But hey, whatever. This one is much cheaper. It's, even though both are reprints, the reprint of the first appearance does obviously better than this one, but it's still worth noting and still worth grabbing if you find it cheap enough as copies. Again, if you sell it in a set, $75, $90, $90 for a set. Best offer on 25 bucks for one of these back in April. Asking prices $13 to $18. So definitely much cheaper than the other one, even though the other one was at auction and it was like only a couple bucks right now. So everything's relative. Now, it's not all about X-Men and X-23, etc. You can also find some oddball things collected, like the Frankencastle story. If you wanted to go and collect the original copies of this, it could get a little bit pricey. So maybe you look for the Marvel Must-Have, which collects a couple of the stories about the birth of the monster Punisher, Frankencastle. So yeah, Punisher was turned into a Frankenstein, if you didn't know that. Big zombified Punisher. Yeah, Punisher's been a lot of different things over the years. They've really stretched the idea of what he could be. But with that said, this Marvel Must-Have collected edition, we had one sale happen within the last 3 months. It was only 20 bucks, but you can see asking prices could be anywhere from 20 to 30 to $45. So if you find this in a box and it's like $5, maybe think about it. 10 bucks, maybe pause a little bit longer. More than that, well, then you're on your own. You do what you want to do. I'm just telling you what the market is doing with this book, you know? And then with that said, it looks like the cover price was $5, so factor that in too. Because it is going to be thicker. They're collecting, again, more than one story. It's not a one-for-one issue reprint on these must-haves. Most of the time, like I said, they're collecting multiple issues, like Red Hulk. Everybody's excited for Red Hulk too, with the Thunderbolts rumors and Captain America, etc. We're going to see, Han Solo Hulk out into the big Red Hulk. Get it? Awesome. We'll see what happens. But if you don't want to pay the prices on the Red Hulk series and you don't want to hem and haw over, well, he's on the cover to issue 1, but he's not really in the issue at all. He kind of shows up in 2, but not really until 3. Hey, problem solved. Go find yourself the Marvel Must-Have, which collects issues 1, 2, and 3, and then you're getting the whole story of that first appearance of the Red Hulk in here. And you get A-Bomb as well. Short for Abomination, Rick Jones turning into A-Bomb. That said, collecting Hulks 1 through 3 here. Another book. It does all right. It's not going to make you rich if you find it, but $7. Best offers on $20 to $25. Asking prices right now $10 to $15. So it's just kind of a cheaper option maybe for you if you want to read that story or catch up or get yourself a different version than those first prints, because again, they might be a little pricey these days. So this is just an alternative option for you. Now, our last Marvel must-have for this segment is one I know I've talked about this before, because I talked about picking up in the dollar bin because I found it in the dollar bin, and I always look for it because it's just an awesome cover. And that is X-Force. So this collects the first 3 issues of X-Force from, I forget which volume this was. This is when they became more of like a covert ops team. We had Wolverine and you had Warpath, etc. It's like the first reworked volume, because then I think Remender did this. Then they kind of did another volume right after that was very, very similar. And this is when you had like the Archangel storylines and Genesis, the clones / son of Apocalypse, all that stuff in the run. But these first 3 issues are right here, and they had some bloody covers at the time. So I think to kind of play off the idea of the bloody cover versions that they had, we have Rainbows and Puppies. So, as you can see here, Marvel Must-Haves, X-Force #1, which collects the first 3 issues. There's rainbows and puppies instead of blood. So, also kind of playing off that idea we saw in like Suicide Squad and like Harley Quinn when she's just butterflies and rainbows and things coming up instead of all the gore and blood. Sure, kind of fun. Or even the Kingsman did that too when the heads were exploding. It was like fireworks instead of a, you know, corn syrup everywhere. With that said, this book does all right if you can find it. Yeah, one copy sold for $20. That's the only sale I could find recently, but you can look for asking prices. They're about $40 to $55, which is a lot more than it used to be. This used to be like a $20 to $25 book. Hence the price, and that's what I remember it as. But I'd still look for it in those cheap boxes in those dollar bins because $20 is $20. Now, hey, maybe you can get some more because people want these rainbows and puppies. Like I said, it's a fun cover, just fun, and comics should be fun. It's just one of those fun things to hunt. So that's another reason why you can go and look for these books. You don't have to buy them. You can go find them in a shop and go, you know what? I'm not buying this, but I found it, and you can feel pretty good that you found it and you know what I'm talking about. Finally, we have one more segment. Which I kind of hemmed and hawed what to call this segment. I was like, do we call it previews? I know this is previews. These are not actually going to be the diamond previews, which we can probably do one of these days because people are buying those too. Now, yeah, we'll probably do this one of these days, but it's not just diamond previews. Any sort of preview edition kind of book. We're talking like Marvel Age, those books. They're just kind of teasers. They're almost like little mini magazines, comic form. But way back when, in the 90s, before we had Image Comics got teased via Malibu and Malibu Sun. Everybody knows this book. I started with this book just because I want to put us on a playing field where we all know what we're talking about here. So, you all most likely know this book. This preview edition of Spawn is very expensive. I'm not saying you're going to find this for cheap. This, I'm just putting in here for context and for an example. So, Malibu Sun number 13, May in 1992, is one of the debated first preview appearances of Spawn. I say debated because you can go out there and find yourself at least half a dozen other versions of books that say, well, Spawn first appeared here and this, that, there's Concrete, and then there's this, that, the other, and Tech Jacket, and there's a lot of options. Let's just put it at that. Again, they're all still previews, so yeah, I don't know. I'm just not a big preview collector in the sense that, yeah, I think they're cool, but I'm not putting a lot of money into these personally because it's just not my thing. I much rather get the actual stories and the comics because I like to read, and I like to read these stories, as silly as that sounds. But Spawn, and this reminds me back then, I was collecting comics back then. I was from teenager. It's probably middle school, right? 92? Yeah, about middle school, about to go into high school, thereabouts. Yes, I was all about the Image universe. I loved those guys. I loved the start of the Image, universe. I got all of this stuff. I didn't get all the Malibu Suns because I didn't care. Once again, they were previews. But babbling on here. Malibu Sun 13. You guys know. Again, very, very expensive book. Very expensive book. As you can see here, price is $600, $400 raw. That's $600 is for a 9.4, and then another raw still on the best offer $800. And asking price as well. Yeah, there's a raw that's got some damage to it for $330. It's got 23 watchers. There's also a 9.2 that's at auction for $300. Then there's a 9.8 looking for $4,000. I get it. Very pricey book for a preview of Spawn. Despite the fact that he's on the cover, he's also getting preview images on the back, etc. And then there's error versions and variants because of printing error colors, etc. Don't want to go all down those rabbit holes. Point being, context. Because this wasn't the only Image series that was teased and previewed in Malibu Sun. Matter of fact, before this one, before issue 13, we can go back to issue 10, which actually previewed the first Image book, because first out of the gate, you guys remember, was Rob Liefeld with Youngblood. He opened the doors with Youngblood first. And then I think Larson came with Savage Dragon and then Spawn, and Jim Lee was trailing behind. Anyway, and Shadowhawk was in the mix there somewhere as well. Wetworks came a little bit later too. But anyway, trying to remember all the stuff from back then. February 1992, Malibu Sun, number 10. This is even the cover. You're even getting the cover to issue 1 of Youngblood teased here. I'm not saying this is worth a ton of money or you need to go and get this, because realistically, there's not that many Youngblood fans these days. Despite the fact that I think this has been optioned, it's somebody has the rights. Maybe they'll make something out of this. But will it be this team, the original team? Probably not. It's going to be one of the other variations, probably, as they rework this title many times over the decades. But still, for fun, You could probably dig this out of a cheap box or even a dollar box, and well, it could be $20, $27. You can see some recent sales. Asking prices, well, asking prices are a little bit more, as they're looking for 60, 70, $110 for this. Now, you never catch me paying that for one of these, but finding a box for a couple of bucks, I might consider it for just nostalgia's sake alone. I know I've seen the Savage Dragon one a ton of times. Don't often see I haven't come across the Spawn one, and I think I've seen this one before, but I don't think I have one of these in my collection. But not that I need one, just pointing it out. It's a possibility. So if you find it for a good price, maybe you consider it. Now, as I said, kind of bringing up the rear on the entry of the Image universe is my favorite, Jim Lee. He's doing the X-Men, and then yes, Wildcats is kind of a bit of a knockoff on a lot of the X-Men characters. I get it. I get it. You look at them and you kind of go one for one. Oh, that's so and so. Yeah, I understand. But these are aliens and the whole story, whatever. But Malibu Sun number 15, July of 1992. Again, yes, this would have been the summer heading of between 8th and 9th grade for me. Hunting all these comic books at the flea market and etc. Good times. Anyway, Jim Lee, Wildcats here. Getting teased before that actually releases. This one, not so much as the others, but still worth knowing. You can see copies can sell for as cheap as $10 to $15. A 9.6 sold for $71. Asking prices, once again are a bit higher than what people are actually paying. So asking 30 to 45, 9.8's looking for 400, and then you see what's actually selling more in that $10 to $15 kind of range. So whatever you find, you make the call what you want to do with this. I'm not telling you have to do anything. I'm just bringing this up because I thought these were kind of fun books and weird things to kind of talk about here. So after all of the initial run, the initial wave with Valentino and we had Shadowhawk and like I said, Wetworks, etc., we got another wave. So year 2 of Image, but kind of in between it, Pitt kind of rolled out of there, kind of on his own. And on his own, Dale Keown kind of rolled out with Malibu Sun number 19, introducing us to Pitt. So it was kind of like I think Pitt and Tribe kind of came around near the same time as another wave of new Image creators and books coming out. But yeah, kind of a Hulk-ish character. They did what they were good at the time. They all started off doing what they knew how to do and did very similar type characters. But with number 19, this is a fun one too. It's like a $20 book, as you can see here. Some sales $15, $20, $22.50. Asking prices anywhere from $20 to $30. So again, flip it through, weird dollar box, weird back issue box. You're like, Malibu Suns, what the heck's in here? While you're looking for that Spawn, consider these others. That's the point. Everybody knows to look for the Spawn, but do you know to look for the others? And again, not every one of these issues. You see why I'm skipping issues, because not every one of these issues is worth something. So keep that in mind as well. Even some of these aren't worth all that much. But with that said, it's still kind of fun to go and find. Again, with the later waves, Jim Lee expanded his corner in this little nook of the universe and gave us Stormwatch too. So here we got Stormwatch on issue 22. So this is a whole year after Youngblood graced the covers of Malibu Sun. We've got Jim Lee doing the cover art here because this is the cover to Stormwatch 1. Doing the cover for Stormwatch 1. I like Stormwatch. It was kind of fun. Nobody has bought any of these, though, recently. So nobody bought a Stormwatch, but the asking prices, anywhere from $10 to $30. So who knows? Who knows what this thing could be worth? But it's just another fun book for you to go and dig for. And with that, I'm going to give you one more. Also, while you're digging for those spawns, because it's super duper expensive, there's another one in here in this run that is also very expensive. And you probably were saying, why aren't you talking about that? Well, he's not talking about it because he's really focusing on the Image guys, etc. And that's true. I was focusing on the Image guys because I did skip over Chaos. I did skip over the Lady Death corner of things, which now Coffin Comics doing most of the characters. But way, way back in the day, Evil Ernie first popped up on number 8 of Malibu Sun. And this thing is really expensive. That Spawn was expensive. Check this bad boy out. So Evil Ernie, copy sold, best offer on $1,200 for a 9.0. Asking prices, a 7.5 is looking for 2,500. A 90 SS has 13 watchers. That also has 20 watchers on that 7.5, by the way. 90 CBCS, yellow label, looking for 1,500 bucks. And then another 11 people are watching 1,500 bucks on a 9.2. Just saying. You notice these are all graded. Just finding a raw copy is going to be hard, but that doesn't mean they're not out there. You never know. Could get lucky. Point being, just telling you, while you're flipping through looking for the super duper scores, keep an eye out for that other stuff too, because it could be fun. It can make your time digging worthwhile. That's all I'm saying. Because, yeah, you might come up empty looking for your evil Ernies and spawns, but you might come away happy to say, well, I didn't find evil Ernie and spawn digging in the Malibu Suns, but you know what I did find? I found the pit one. And it's like 20 bucks, so cool. I got it for $2. I don't know. I'm just making up stories for you. Who knows what could happen? That's what's so fun about digging. You never know what you're going to find. But with that all said, I've taken up enough of your time tonight. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Thanks for stopping by and checking this out. I'm still having a hell of a lot of fun doing these. Hopefully you're enjoying them still. And yeah, I'll be back soon with some more content. So guess I'll see you all later. All right.